The first time the girl walks into the bar, a guy off to the side has his eye on her. He threw the pills into the drink, then raised his glass and approached the girl. The girl thought she could refuse, but she didn't know that the man had already had his mind set on her. When the girl walked out of the bar, a big man suddenly sprang up and locked the girl firmly in place. In the process of struggling, the bar's security guard came out of the back door and happened to see this scene. The security guard immediately went forward, but did not expect him not to help the girl, but with them to stuff the girl into the car. They tied the girl's hands with the seatbelt and the girl was very scared, but no one came to her rescue. The final punch knocked the girl into unconsciousness. The car drove very slowly all the way until it stopped on the side of the road 3 hours later. The girl, tortured to death, was casually thrown down while a man got out of the car. He kicked her into the gutter, but luckily, the girl only temporarily fainted and was saved by the kind people passing by. The mother who got the news rushed to the hospital and looked at her daughter's mangled body. She was so heartbroken that she couldn't say a word. The doctor told her that your daughter had more than 80 wounds on her body, the lightest one being from a stick. The mother was completely devastated after hearing this, and she wondered what her daughter had done wrong to endure this experience. The girl's ordeal made the news, and the police department took it very seriously. It took a week to apprehend all 4 killers, but surprisingly, the girl threw away her dignity in court and gave her testimony. The testimony was not accepted because of excessive drinking on the night of the crime. The 4 murderers spent a lot of money on lawyers who were not only articulate, but also faked alibis. The testing department was also bribed to say that the residual bodily fluids of the murderers were more than 72 hours old and had no reference value. So eventually all 4 criminals were acquitted. The girl's father's eyes filled with tears and rushed up to punch down one of the criminals. As a result, he was arrested by the police and dragged into the police car like a criminal. The woman watched her husband being taken away, and watched the criminals reunite with their families. She was in a trance. The woman bailed her husband out. As she was leaving, she told the police at the door that she no longer believed in the law. But if you don't believe, what can you do? How can a weak woman fight a criminal? At night she ate an apple. A good idea came to mind. Cut open the apple and collect a large amount of apple seeds. This is the woman's revenge for the rapist. She knows that apple seeds contain highly toxic. So she sneaks into her opponent's home late at night and puts the ground apple seeds into the protein powder he must drink every day. The poison causes the eyes to become blurry and the limbs to become uncontrollable. Immediately after, the 5 senses are distorted and finally die outright. But the woman would not let him off easily, so she put a small dose, not enough to kill, but also live like a vegetable. This is just the first step in the woman's revenge plan. There are 3 other people who violated her daughter, and no one is going to run away. She carries a bag of apples and sneaks into the home of one of the boys. Not poisoned, but planted. She cuts up all the apples and grinds the seeds into powder. Then turned on the computer and left a trail of searching for drug-making tutorials. On the way out, she also triggered the fire alarm system in the room. On the other hand, the police were asking about the cause of the poisoning at the hospital. The boy received a call and learned that the house was on fire. So the police followed the boy home, just in time to find the scene of drug-making. The boy was arrested, while the woman came to the hospital. The man had been poisoned all over paralysis. Even the mouth could not open. The next is one of the famous scenes. The woman first took out an apple to let the other side know that the poison was hers. Then said to the man, "My daughter told me that you have been shouting a phrase while violating her." The woman finished and left. She was going to start the next step of the plan. The 3rd offender was an alcoholic who went to a bar every Monday to drink. She found 2 unfamiliar faces and tricked the alcoholic into a car and arrested him. By the time he woke up again it was 3 days later. The man wanted to pee, but when he looked down, it was gone. He was terrified. He was not calm. He was no longer a man. His foot slipped and he hit his head on a water pipe, killing him instantly. The girl saw the story on the news and thought her father had done it all for her. She sent a message to her father saying, "Dad, I love you." The father was relieved that his daughter was finally no longer sad. On the other hand, the police captain knew that the alcoholic was a rapist. So rightfully so, he found the girl's father and sent someone to monitor his every move. The woman is ready to engage the last murderer. He found a detective. From the beginning, this man has been helping her by giving her information about the killer and his location. The detective said, "This murderer is missing. When there is information I will tell you. But the other side is a completely evil person. You must not act without permission." The woman went home and waited for news, but within a few days the man appeared. Stepmother, in order to revenge the 4 murderers, one was confiscated the tools of the crime, one was poisoned into total paralysis, and one was taken to prison as the poisoner. The boy said, "You run, the next one is you." The bald man was not afraid, but showed a smile. He found his companion lying in the hospital and wanted to know who did it all. The companion desperately opened his mouth but could not speak, and could not easily say a name, which Baldy thought was the name of the boy in prison. The next is also a bright scene, you can see for yourselves.
उसका नाम तो बोलो कौन है? किसकी माँ? किसकी माँ? सेठ जी
Baldy finally understood that he was talking about the girl's mother, but his companion died because he was too excited. Late at night, he sneaks into the woman's home, only to find no one at all. It turns out that the woman was looking for the last murderer when her daughter suddenly suggested that she wanted to go on a trip and the family had already left. Baldy came out of the woman's house and found that the detective the woman had hired was following him. So a few days later he quietly came to the detective's company, first violently beaten, and then forced the other side to tell the woman's location. But the detective not only kept his mouth shut, but also a variety of taunts he said he did to the girl is not even a man. Bald head angry, a gun shot him. Before leaving he found the location of the woman's family in the detective's phone. On the other hand, the girl was resting in her room when the lights suddenly went out. The girl's father runs to check, only to be shot down by the bald man. The woman returned to the room and found that the bald man was preparing to strike at her daughter. She got anxious and told the bald man to come at her, only to be severely blasted. She was also strangled by Baldy with a plastic bag until she suffocated. He kicked her with his foot to make sure she was dead, before he was relieved to go after the girl. Who knew that the woman was only temporarily unconscious? She came to life. She followed the footprints on the ground to chase her daughter, but what she found was Bald. The woman was finished. He was just about to shoot. The police captain stepped forward, and it turned out that he already knew what the woman was doing. While investigating the death of the detective, he found out that the detective's glasses could be videotaped and captured everything from start to finish. He knew that Baldy was coming for the woman, so he rushed over at the first opportunity, and the captain subdued Baldy. But the woman picked up Baldy's gun and she wanted to sanction the bastard. The captain said, "You have a daughter, a family, don't do anything stupid." Persuaded her to put the gun down. Seeing that the woman was shaken, the bald man laughed. The woman cried and shouted, "This will happen again, but you can't do anything." The woman kept repeating the phrase. The captain faltered.
अगर मारना ही है तो सही गन से मारो.
Bald head completely panicked, kept begging the woman for mercy. The captain told her to do it quickly, but the woman hesitated to shoot. He wanted to confess his guilt.
Shoot the bastard!
The daughter came out and she knew everything. It turned out that her stepmother had done so much for her, and she had never even called her mother for the rest of her life. The woman collapsed to the ground, never having been so brave in her life. Just because she is a mother, this movie is based on a real case. But the victims in reality are far less fortunate than the girls in the movie.